I love the fact that when we first connected on like Instagram, which was probably, I think for me, it was probably about 18 months, maybe 2 years ago that I first
hmm
sort of discovered you. And I think I saw a post of you doing some sort of like interior designy type stuff. Is that right?
Yes,
And now,
yes.
and now your move over menopause. I mean, like everything I've been reading about what you've been doing and stuff just sounds incredible. So how did you get from interior designy type stuff to menopause?
So yeah, completely changed my career. I fell in love with interiors when I was younger. Have always loved it. Decided to really go full on into it. Created a website, created a small business, and just loved doing it. And then something came up which I was asked to do. I used to have a shop in Totnes, on Totnes High Street, one in Ashburton, closed that one down because I opened it 2 weeks before the lockdown.
Oh
So
wow.
I launched my interior business 2 weeks before lockdown. Um, the first 2 weeks were brilliant. I thought, oh, this is going to be really good. And then that's it, had to close. After that, it was a gradual struggle. The high street was really quiet. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to move my shop. And I thought, I'll go to Totnes High Street, give that a go. Um, then something came up and I was offered to go or be part of a TV show on Channel 4,
Oh wow.
which was great. And I was like, is this real or is somebody having me on? Anyway, it turned out it was real. I couldn't afford to get somebody in the shop to cover me. So I thought, I'm just going to close and just go from there. And it turns out the TV show was brilliant and it was an amazing experience to do. It's called the Big Interior Challenge. And AJ Dudu was the presenter.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it was brilliant fun, but it was a disaster.
Oh really?
It was a disaster in terms of it not being as flowing as I thought it would be. More sort of a little bit more staged and pre-done.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, I didn't do great in there. I was out on the first shot, and I was like, "What?"
Wow.
Just yeah.
Out of
It's
curiosity, what channel was it? Did you say it was on?
Channel 4.
Oh, weird. I've had a dealing with Channel 4 in the past.
Oh, really? It,
Yeah,
it's yeah.
we won't go into
Yeah.
that though.
No, no.
And it was all around them completely staging the TV show.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is it goes against like various different Ofcom regulations and all that, doesn't it? So
It was kind of, I mean, my idea for it would have been a lot better. I think they needed live what do you call it, when they were voting, they needed live votes, I think.
yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway, that's another story.
amazing.
So did that. Wouldn't have changed it for the world because it was brilliant fun. And then just I kind of thought, do you know, I was going through lockdown. I was 45 and I started to get perimenopausal symptoms. Um, and this was before the TV show. And I kind of thought, right, I've got to get on with things. Read up so much about what was going on with me. I ended up becoming so passionate about learning menopause and perimenopause and what it does to women. I just thought I'm gonna just leave the interiors for now and focus on this because I was so passionate, probably more passionate about learning about perimenopause than I was with interiors.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Interiors I can play with at home and, I can do fun things. We're doing up a really old cottage, so I'm kind of having that passion,
I'm even
spread into the
admiring the logs.
house.
I'm even admiring the log stack behind because whenever I try and do a log stack, my wife comes and sort of rearranges it afterwards. I'm like, yeah,
I don't deal with the logs. Spencer deals with the logs. He's the genius with logs. Um, And yeah, I just became so passionate. I thought I'm actually going to get myself licensed. I'm going to go with a really good company. I'm licensed with a company called Menopause Experts.
Mhm.
They're fantastic and their training is second to none. I'm constantly updating my knowledge. And I'm making sure that I renew my license every year so I can continue to support everybody. So that's
Amazing.
how I kind of went from interiors to menopause. Bit
Wow.
weird, but
That sounds like quite a cool, there's a title of a book in there somewhere. I'm not sure where that
I
is.
reckon there might be.
Yeah. Internal menopause or something, who knows?
Yeah.
So out of curiosity then, what was the biggest, challenge for you when you were kind of going through that stage yourself then? Was there a moment that kind of had you that shift that you were like, "Okay, this I need to learn more about this."
Mm.
And was there a reason why you had to learn more?
I think, the symptoms you can get, I mean, there's so many different symptoms you can get with perimenopause and menopause, and mine was more of an anxiety and a mental kind of thing. My mood would just drop, and I
Wow.
think there's nothing wrong with my life. I've got a lovely home, I've got a lovely fiance, well, I've got great kids, I've got 2 amazing stepsons as well. I thought there's nothing wrong with me, so it's got to be hormonal. It's got to be the wave of,
Yeah.
hormonal dips we get. And yeah, it made it to a stage where I thought I've disappeared. My me had disappeared somewhere, and I didn't know where it had gone.
Yeah.
And that's what encouraged me to read every book I could find, and get the
Have you read
answers.
this one?
I've got it right there in my bookcase.
So James Smith, I was watching James Smith, the fitness guy.
Yeah.
I think it was on one of the trainings I was doing with my old coach that I was working with, and he said about this book. And
Yeah.
I've got to be honest, this morning I was like, I know I read this about a year ago, but do you know what? You know when you read a book and you're like, yeah, I can't remember anything about it. Even
Yeah.
though I've done a lot of research myself over the years,
Yeah.
but one thing I do know that from reading that book, it has made me change. I mean, I won't go into it too much detail because it'll be a very long story, and this isn't about me today. But my wife's symptoms are basically menopausal from age of about 18. So without
Wow.
the support of medication, she was never able to have a natural period.
Right.
And so I've always kind of been quite sympathetic to the way she is, and we went through IVF and so forth, which
Yeah.
has kind of always been quite complicated, especially with, just the way the hormones are fluctuating and
Mm.
how she's feeling and all that kind of thing. And so I read that because I wanted to get a better understanding from my own perspective, because when I'm coaching my clients, I'm quite often coaching men or women who are going through particular points or times in their life. I'm
Yeah.
43. So I know there's a lot of things that happen. Did did you find that like the outside world around you was sympathetic to the way you were feeling at that time?
Mm, they didn't know,
Hmm.
it's not something when you don't have enough knowledge, it's not something you can then easily talk to people about.
Hmm.
And because it's such a taboo subject, it's getting a bit better
Hmm.
and there's more programs on it and there's more
I
books.
I thought sex
And
and money were the only taboo subjects, but menopause is also definitely a taboo subject, right?
it definitely is. Yeah. But, it's just trying to get others to talk. Now I talk about it all the time. I'm
Mhm.
very open about my experience and I really try and encourage others to do the same. Just talk to anybody if you're feeling your symptoms are getting worse. Um yeah, yeah, it's an ongoing mountain to climb.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. So how do you work with people then, like, with what you do? Are you kind of in a supporting way or?
Yeah, so I offer free menopause workshops in my community, and they go down really well. There's that there's a lot of need for the support out there, and they've got questions that they need answers to. And I did it the long way. I read every book, studied and studied and studied. It took me forever to learn what was going on with me.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to get people, I'm trying to cut all that studying out for people and just to give them the correct knowledge all in one place so they don't have to pick up that book and then go for another book. And,
Yeah. Yeah. So, when you're sort of saying like within your community, like within the community where you're based,
Mhm.
is there like a common, I mean, I know you're going to go into details of particular people, but are there any like common misconceptions that people have got around maybe their own, their own process of like perimenopause and menopause?
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at their mum and they think, well, my mum never said anything, or she never talked about suffering from anything. So I can't really moan because my mum obviously went through it.
Uh-huh.
And I've had this discussion before at workshops and trying to work out back in the day, did our grandparents have symptoms, or did they hide it? Or were their lives so completely more simple? So
Uh-huh.
were they stay-at-home mums? And I'm not saying by any means being a stay-at-home mum is easy, because I've been there, I've done it, I know it has its challenges.
Yeah, yeah.
But women nowadays look after children, they care for elderly parents, they have a full-time job.
Uh-huh.
Is all of those things making our perimenopause symptoms worse? It's really a hard one to work out whether our parents and grandparents did suffer in silence.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember being about sort of 30-ish, I would imagine, and I was having a conversation with my mum, and my mum just and I we properly clashed heads when I was 17. And it's something that I'm very conscious with my friends, where they're particularly when they've got girls as well, girls coming into their, get starting their hormones, and then mums being in the perimenopausal. I mean, that's just a question for fireworks, right? And
Yeah.
there can be battles that can happen. And I have noticed, particularly in the world these days, a lot of men tend to moan about things like that I've noticed. And it's a case of they're not sympathetic to one, what they're potentially what their daughter's going through with those
Mm.
changes. My daughter's 13. Um,
Yeah.
and what their wives are going through. So they go through this stage of like, oh, actually, I feel like they're always fighting, and um, do you think that's going to change, or has that changed the way you communicate with your own children when it comes to like menopause?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do say things to my girls. My girls are 24 and 27. So, what I say to them is, "Oh, don't forget to do that, or just think about doing this rather than doing that, because it might help you in the future." And they're like, "All right." Sort of, it's like, this isn't my time. I don't need to know about this just yet.
Yeah,
Which for me as a mum is frustrating because I want to prepare them.
yeah,
Secretly, I do think they take it on board, and listen, I hope. But it's hard to relay that to your children and get them to completely understand.
yeah. Well, me being Captain Tangent. So basically, when I was 30, around that sort of age, my mum just happened to say to me, "Oh yeah, when you were younger, you were about 17. You and I used to really fall out." And like I had a flat on the back of my parents' house, and my mum would walk into a room and she would just tear me to pieces. And I would be the instant 17-year-old, be like, "Fuck off," because I was like Kevin. I was the classic
Yeah.
Kevin. And back then, I didn't really know what she was going through. I even remember when she had a hysterectomy when I was younger as well.
Mm.
And I, even remember back then not really kind of understanding what it was all about. But when I
Yeah.
was about 30, she said, "Oh yeah, I just want to apologize," because in her terms, and this was the way she described it to me, and me then being a little bit older, a little bit wiser, kind of knowing a bit more what she was talking about. She went, "Ladies go through a bit of a troublesome time as they get older." And that was kind of the conversation, but it was her way of just saying like, basically, sorry, I was a bit of a bitch, basically. But we've talked about it over the years, and it's interesting that I think that people don't, like you're saying about taboo subjects, I think people don't know, what's going, and they don't know what to expect. They don't,
No.
I think many women don't even realize that perimenopause is even a thing. They hear about menopause, but they don't know
Yeah.
about perimenopause. And
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I read in that book was just how early your perimenopausal symptoms could start.
Yeah, definitely. They can start really early, and not everybody is the same. We can all go through it differently. Some people sail through it, no hiccups at all. Some people can get every symptom, or some just get a few. But some of the symptoms can be debilitating and really really awful. And it does make you think, like you said, your mum apologized for her behavior, but that
Don't get
is
me wrong, I was probably a proper ass as well, but
But it's really difficult because you don't mean to be like that. It's just those hormones changing in your brain. So your estrogen lowers, and you have receptors going up to your brain, chemical messengers, and when that's getting low, it's not making your brain work properly, and it's hard going for some.
yeah, exactly. Is there any kind of anything that kind of was a big turning point then for you when you kind of started to read and you started to take when did there anything that kind of helped you kind of understand like really what was going on?
There was, I think, probably one TV show that I watched, and Davina McCall, actually, who's the one of the main, celebrities to bring it to light for people. And she said she was sat in her hairdresser's chair, and at the age of 45, she said, and I literally turned around to the hairdresser and said, "Are these seats heated? Because it's boiling." So
Yeah.
that was her first hot flush, and that was the first symptom I had.
She's now with her hairdresser, isn't she?
She is actually, yes, yeah, yeah, yes. But, yeah, that was the first symptom I had, and that's what made me, so I had listened to that and taken that on board, and that made me think, "Jesus, I'm in the same age. Could it be that?" And that's
Wow.
what made me progress further, and I just thought, "I'm 45. I don't want to change. I'm happy with my body. I'm happy with my mind, everything. I want to keep it the same. So if I want to hit it before it, starts getting
Yeah, yeah.
worse."
And I think that's one thing that I really admire with like especially like some of the things I've seen you put out as well. It's that having that knowledge and just openly talking about things, which
Mm.
again I think, people just seem to be quite afraid to do, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think, with anything, when you've got the knowledge about something that you're so passionate about, you just want to share that with people. And I do, especially because I know what I've been through and how I've suffered anxiety, panic attacks, which I've never in my life had
Mhm.
until till now. I've always gone through life, and I've gone through ups and downs. I lost my dad when he was 57,
Wow.
um, back in 2012. So, and he was my best friend. So that was a dramatic change in my life.
Mhm.
Um, and I still got through that and coped with it with my way of coping. And I never thought I didn't really suffer from anxiety.
Yeah.
And you would have thought that would be the main reason why you would suffer
Yeah,
from
yeah.
things,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been. It's the perimenopause
Yeah.
has caused my anxiety, which, then radiates other things that have happened in your life, I suppose.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah.
So are there any kind of tools that you kind of use to kind of handle those kind of things?
So my main thing is getting my partner on board. And he obviously I've got all this knowledge up here and I'm sharing it with him, so he has got probably as much knowledge as I have in it. So he knows when I'm feeling a little bit, and yeah, it that really really helps. So that is one major thing I would recommend to anybody, is talk to your partner and get them to know what's happening with your body, or even sit down with them and watch Davina McCall's TV show
Yeah, yeah,
together. That's really helpful. Trying to get him to sit down and read a book is really hard because he's busy, and um, so it's, yeah, talking to your partner and constantly just feeding yourself with knowledge, but getting it from the right places.
yeah,
Social
yeah,
media is a nightmare, and it can be amazing, like, doing what we're doing now,
yeah, yeah.
but the algorithms, once you start looking something up, it complete changes what you're actually trying to find. It's
Yeah. Yeah, and I
hard.
noticed that a lot with particularly, like, food and nutrition. When you start looking at certain things,
Mm.
there's a certain advert that I keep getting sent at the moment, to the point that the other day I was like, "I've just got to go on there and tell them I'm not interested," because I was
Yeah.
looking for something else. I think I was actually searching for some new creatine, and this one guy with these gummies kept coming up, and then I went onto LinkedIn, and his profile came up, and I was like, "Oh my god,
Oh,
go away."
God. It's so awful.
It is, it is. When you say about starting those conversations, are there any steps that you would say to kind of, I think it's great when you said about, like, getting your partner to understand, but are there any sort of steps you would recommend for someone who is having these kind of, these different feelings, these different, and maybe their body's feeling differently or something like that, but they don't really know how to communicate it. Is there a way you would say, like, about getting your partner on board without kind of almost kind of, um I don't know. I feel like some people can just make it like a real, like, oh my, I don't want to talk to my partner about it. Like, is there, like, because I mean, my personal view on it is like, you should just talk to someone. But like,
Mm,
what those boundaries that people have got, or like the barriers that people put up,
mm.
and I feel like they're protecting themselves. Is there like anything you would say that, like, that would just be like, do you know what this? But
What I'm trying to create is workshops for guys.
I love
Um,
that. I love that.
Yeah, so it's all about the women. It's all about teaching them what they're going to be going through or what they are going through and supporting them. But I want to be able to create workshops. And women have asked me, can you do one for my husband and
Mhm.
my boyfriend or whoever? Um,
That's not the same
and
woman asking that, was it? My husband,
no,
my
no.
boyfriend.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Um, no, I don't think so. Um, but that would be, I think, would you come to or would you go to this? I'd really appreciate it if you would go to this workshop. It's only an
Yeah,
hour long.
yeah,
If you don't want to go, she records it and you
yeah,
can maybe listen on the computer when your laptop when you've got a bit of time. I just want you to do that because it will explain what I'm going through. I think that's the best way to maybe approach somebody that is kind of, well, you get so many different guys and either not interested or they laugh it off and say, oh, yeah, she goes through menopause, tut tut.
yeah,
Or some guys are like, I want to know more because I really want to help.
yeah, yeah,
And I think dads, maybe especially if they've got daughters, they then want to get the knowledge
yeah.
because their daughters are going to, 50% of the population are going through this. So,
It's
um,
funny because my daughter's recently started her period. It's called the
yeah,
P, by the way, in her school.
Pete.
We're all on our
Oh, is
P,
it?
Dad. We're all on the P.
Oh,
I'm like,
God.
okay, and they've all synced in her class as well, which I think is apparently hilarious. That she's only in a
Strange.
class of 7, but oh yeah, all the girls have synced, which is quite amusing. But I had an experience when she first had her first period where I said to my mum, I said, "Oh, got good news. Chloe's really excited. She has started her period." And my mum went, "Oh no." And I said, What do you mean? Oh no. She went, "Oh, poor thing. Oh, tell her grandma's thinking of her, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, whoa. I was like, this is a really good thing in our house. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, she literally is like over the moon because it's like everyone's got them at school. She hates it, don't get me wrong. I mean, the amount of times that she's got one of those microwave bean bags has been in the microwave. She tried to
Oh.
put it in the microwave for 12 minutes one day, which I luckily had to stop.
Oh God.
But I think it's that thing,
Oh.
isn't it? It's that generational difference from my parents' generation to the
Yeah.
generation now that, we will, I would like to believe, are going to talk more openly. And when you said about, parents not talking and stuff, I mean, I remember my mum saying my dad didn't even change one of my nappies probably. So I think men are
Yeah.
doing more, and I think men genuinely want to be more supportive.
Yeah.
And I
I
and I
agree.
and I do believe that there's, I mean, I love the whole, we just said this on the podcast last week with Harry Purdy. We were just saying that lads and dads don't talk, and that's the thing, Even
Mm.
now, there's stuff that I probably don't talk to my dad about because it's his generation. But I'd like to believe that my daughter talks about stuff to me
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
maybe other children wouldn't have talked to about their parents. So
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. I'm very open with my mum now, and she loves it. She's learning, stuff that she wasn't told.
yeah,
So it does go down in generations, and my generation, it just wasn't ever discussed really. Um, and I think as for periods and things, yeah, the your was it your mum that said that?
yeah, my mum was the one who was like, "Oh, poor thing," and I was like,
Yeah.
what?" Yeah,
Well, I think, yeah, so they probably didn't discuss it with their mum, and
yeah,
it was all like, "Oh, no, can't talk about that." It's just how we all progress, and now it's so much better where guys are so much more supportive,
yeah,
but there's still a journey. There is
yeah.
still a journey
I
to
mean,
get to get
I've
there.
I've had it in the past where my wife's gone, "Oh, could you get me some pads or something from Tesco's?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." And I'm like on the phone going, "Right, I've got these massive ones," like because I'd rather ask her and get it than get it wrong. And you
Yeah,
can see, like, I mean, without sounding silly, you can still see there's like women looking at me, it's like, "What the bloody hell's this guy doing?" Do you know? But
but yeah.
you'd rather get it right.
Definitely, definitely, and those women that were looking at you weird were probably wishing that their partner was doing,
I'd like
doing
to
the
think
same
so.
for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, for
It's
sure.
funny. I remember when I was a kid, it was, well, I said with a kid, that sounds wrong saying that, but I remember when I was younger, my mate used to always say to me, he said, "Oh, if you ever buy condoms, make sure you buy, like, some crisps or something as well." So they just I'm like, "What?" It's almost like you've
Just
got to hide it next to something.
yeah, just hide it under the crisps.
Yeah,
Shh.
yeah. So is
Oh,
there a book that you would, like, recommend if, like, I mean, I've read this one and, like, I genuinely I read it and was like, "Oh my god, like, next thing, next thing." Is there a book that you would recommend for people to read or
yes, totally. There's a couple of books actually, and one of them is so Dr. Louise Newsom wrote that book.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so her latest edition is a must.
Oh, really?
It covers everything, and it's completely updated. There's also another really good book that I've read. It's Dr. Mosconi. She's a female brain scientist,
Oh, wow.
and she does a lot of studies with the menopausal brain, women's brain that are taking HRT and
Mhm.
women who aren't, and the connections with Alzheimer's. She is fascinating. She's brought out a book called Menopause Brain, which is just brilliant. I could read it over and over again. It's full of really important information. And she also does a book which I read after that called Brain Food,
Oh,
which
wow.
is fantastic. But Brain Food is for there for everybody to read. Um, just your general health. So
General
I've
health.
done a course on nutrition as well because I want to involve everybody in the journey of feeling good and healthy and mental well-being. So yeah, I've got lots in my head to do, and I've just created to move over menopause as a CIC now. So
I saw that, and I saw what I just thought that was amazing because that's just opening up an opportunity as well, isn't it, for other people?
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um, are there any lifestyle changes that you've made then? You saying about your nutrition and stuff? Because, like, literally, I just
Yeah.
saw your face just was like, "Mhm."
Yes. Oh yes,
What kind of lifestyle
definitely.
changes have you made?
So I've done lots of little videos on Instagram and things, and I was sort of looking, thinking, God, my face felt really sort of inflamed. And I thought, right, I've done this nutrition course. I've got a little diploma in nutrition, and it was all about mindfulness and eating. And I thought, I'm just going to put it into practice. And from the day I finished that diploma, I just changed my diet. The first thing I did was stop ultra processed bread. Um, any bread that comes in a bag is a no-no. I would buy Hovis, Granary, Seeded Sensation, whatever, thinking that is amazing. It's, it's good for you. Surely it's brilliant. Little did I know at the time that it is ultra processed and one of the main ultra processed foods, yeah, you can have. So I was having maybe a slice of toast for breakfast. I'd have a sandwich at lunchtime, maybe have a little bit of toast when I got home with a cup of tea, when I was feeling a bit hungry. So I was thinking, I'm eating a lot of bread, even though
Mhm.
it's meant to be healthy, grainy bread. I cut
I mean,
that out and,
they've even called it best of both, haven't they? Like,
oh
oh
my
yeah, I've got the
God,
best of both
no.
worlds.
Well, yeah, totally. So, that's the first thing I stopped, and it wasn't overnight, but all of a sudden I thought, "Oh my God, my face." And I was comparing pictures and the difference I was feeling, and slowly I just gradually changed the whole of my diet, changed my breakfast, and now I eat whole foods, and cook from scratch every day, and I
Amazing.
love it.
Do you still eat bread then?
I eat sourdough, but I eat fresh sourdough.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, or fresh bread. I'll have a nice crusty loaf if I know it's a freshly made one, not with lots of ingredients.
Yeah. 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 So I, at the beginning of this year, uh, we set a little bit of a family challenge for our first quarter, which is like we're starting into quarter two now of 2025, and we're 100% on board now. We've had one loaf of bread that we bought, which I have to say was amazing. It was like cranberry, cashew, and something. It was basically a fruit
Oh,
loaf. It was amazing. From
lovely.
the only bread that we bought since January. Um, but I've loved the journey of getting a better loaf and making a better loaf. So I've been making bread. I mean, I'm finding myself making 2, 3 loaves a week. But
Wow, amazing.
we've also stopped. The other thing that we got rid of was margarine. As in, I say margarine because
Yes.
we've got rid of all the utterly butterly because there's not got any butter in
Yes.
it, and we've just gone to normal butter.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Brilliant.
oh my God, the amount, like, I mean, I have to say, like you said about your skin, that's the one thing that I've massively noticed is just
Wow.
like my skin I used to get real like dry patches on the side of my
Hmm.
like temples here.
Yeah.
Um, I thought it was stress, but I mean, I can eat the bread. I mean, I have to say, the other day I did have 6 slices of bread in one day. I know that wasn't particularly healthy, but it didn't affect me the way it would have done in
Before.
before. That's
Mm.
one thing. Yeah, I absolutely love that. Are there any other kind of, you said about the mindset, are there any other kind of mindset things that you've changed or?
I think the mindset of actually feeding your brain, not feeding your brain in a good way, like the book I was talking about,
Mhm,
Brain Food, that is feeding food that will help your brain.
mhm.
We often in life feed our brain as in, oh my God, I'm craving this, I've got to have that. And you just go and eat it. It's
Yeah.
like you're a robot to your brain is telling you, I want that donut and I'll eat it. You're not actually feeding yourself for the health of your body and what your body needs.
Mhm.
So mindful shopping, mindful of what you're just about to pick up. And actually, I'm not going to eat it. I'm gonna go for a piece of fruit or a piece of veg to crave my sugar
Mhm.
rush. Um, that it takes a bit of time to get used to, but once you get used to it and you get into the mindset of, I'm not putting that in my shopping basket, and you do
Yeah.
end up standing in the queue and looking at other people's baskets and thinking, oh, I know it's
Yeah, yeah,
terrible,
yeah,
but you do, and it does make you feel good
yeah.
and it encourages you to do it even more.
I used to be the biggest lover of pot noodles, but now I see some pot noodle in
Me
someone's
too.
shopping trolley and I'm like, "Ooh."
Ooh.
Like, oh, I'm like, I shouldn't judge. It's not my place to judge people. I'm like, yeah,
No, everybody, everything in moderation. And I'm not saying it's an easy journey because it's not. But if you start, I mean, I literally went for it because I've learnt so much from this course. So I have it with me all the time, and I know what's good and what's not good, and what fats you should be eating and what fats you shouldn't be eating. Um,
what fats shouldn't I be eating? I mean, man
you
or woman.
you shouldn't be eating trans fats. So trans fats is when the liquid fat is chemically processed to turn it hard. Saturated fats are okay when it comes to things like saturated fats are fats that go hard, solidify on their own.
Mhm.
So when you cook a big joint of beef and you leave it to cool, you'll see the fat it goes all hard, doesn't it?
Does that mean coconut oil is a trans fat then?
It's a saturated
Oh,
fat.
is it? Okay.
However, coconut oil is a better saturated fat than lard or
Right,
or
right.
or butter
Yeah,
because it expels in your body easier, so it doesn't store fat in certain areas as would the other fats do.
yeah.
Um, but trans fats have been banned in the US, so manufacturers are not allowed to put it in their food. But it's
Wow.
not banned. It's not banned in the UK.
But they love the food coloring over there, though. It's crazy, right?
Yes, I know, I know, I know. But it's not banned in the UK. The
Wow.
government just suggests to manufacturers not to put it in. There's no law at the moment here.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
Um, so you should be having, your olive oils,
Yep.
your coconut oils,
Yep.
and organic butter ghee is really good.
Yeah.
Really good to cook your roast potatoes in, and yeah.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. So what's next for you with the move over menopause then?
So I am literally just starting to get together my funding, writing up a funding thing for National Lottery,
Oh, amazing.
and lots of different funding pots. So my aim is to open a local community coffee shop, selling luscious fresh coffee, really good nutritional snacks. But I want this coffee shop to be a big enough place where I can host my free workshops.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to maybe have other rooms where I can rent out to people that also do well-being things,
Amazing.
coaching, whatever. If people like Andy's Man Club, for instance, need a
Yeah, yeah.
space, because I know they go to here, there, and everywhere, or they did do. If they need a space, the space is there for them to use.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to be able to do nutritional classes for not just women, but for guys, for families, to say, this is how you can improve your life and,
Mhm.
and your health. And it's not hard to do. So that's
I mean, who doesn't
what I'm
want that,
aiming.
right?
I know, I know. Who doesn't want to live longer, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, amazing. So, Claire, how can people find you on the World Wide Web? Are you, and obviously, I know you're on Instagram.
Yep. So I have a website which is called moveovermenopause.com, moveover hyphen
Yeah,
menopause.com.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So I have a website. I've got a free membership on there, which has got loads of information. I write a blog. So you can pretty much find anything you like.
I love that. I love that. So one last thing before we finish up, if you were to give your, uh, let's go with your daughters one piece of advice when it comes to preparing themselves for perimenopause and menopause. What would be your one piece of advice? Be
Talk about it.
Yeah.
Talk to
I
me about
genuinely
it.
knew you were going to say that. Amazing, amazing.
Talk to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Claire. You're an absolute superstar and I absolutely love what you're doing. And I wish you all the luck in the world with the cafe and your community impact and grants and
Oh,
everything. Yeah,
thank
it's just, I
you.
think it's amazing what you're doing. So yeah, from all the men out there that need to know this information, thank you so much.
You're welcome, and ditto to you as well. You're doing amazing with what you're doing. So
Oh,
yeah,
bless you. Thanks.
congratulations.
And that wraps up today's episode of the Coffee, Chaos and Confidence podcast with me, Coach Casey. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure you like and subscribe. It helps other listeners find the show. Also, go and check out the show notes to learn more about my incredible guests. Until next time, make sure you chase your dreams without limitations.